Alright guys, there's two topics I want to talk to you guys about today. The first one is how am I attaching my wood to the frame, to the aluminum frame. The second one is how am I cutting out an area on these decks that I'm unable to get underneath and trace so that I know where to cut. Alright, so as you can see on the big sheet for my front deck, I was using these 1/4-inch stainless steel nuts and bolts and lock washers to keep the deck down. However, I did have some areas where there's no way I was going to be able to get, let me show you, there's no way I was going to be able to get a nut up under there because it's on the back side of this lip. So using this hardware in these areas wasn't going to happen. So I knew I was going to have to use some type of screw. Luckily someone commented in one of those videos, said just use the self-tapping screws and use a bunch of them. So this is the one I'm using. It's for attaching wood to metal. They're already like painted gray, so they should match the carpet really well, so you shouldn't be able to see them. And it actually worked really good. Because it worked so good over here, I decided to go ahead and do that to the back deck. So because it worked so good in the back deck, I decided to go ahead and do it in the front. I've already done this section. I took out all the hardware, went ahead and put in all the screws, the self-tapping screws. I have all my holes marked. So now I'm going to go over it with this plastic wood filler, fill in all the holes. Mainly just because something about a 1/4-inch hole in the top of my deck doesn't make me feel too good. Also, this is going to give me a chance to kind of fix these little areas that got knocked off when I was making the hatches. That goes down a little bit in there, so I need to try to fill that in with that putty. Alright, so the next thing I want to talk about is how did I cut the hatches out in an area where I couldn't get underneath to trace the hatch. So I started with these back pieces. I have a little hole back here that I was able to get up under and then just trace the inside of the hatch. That's that line that I traced, and I needed to go 1 inch outside of that so that this hatch door will sit on top of the frame. So what I did was I took this scrap piece of square aluminum tubing. It's exactly 1 inch. It's straight. Lined it up to that line that I made. Drew a line on the outside and then cut that line. So that's how I was able to do the ones that you were able to get underneath to trace. So how do I cut the ones that I couldn't get to? So imagine this being one piece of plywood there's nothing here. This is my live well. There's no way for me to put the wood down, get underneath there, and trace. So I used common points. I basically marked the corners on the frame where my hatch door was going to sit for these back hatches, and I knew that I wanted that line to basically go all the way across, and that was going to give me a good point of where I needed this hatch to be. So this end right here was my starting point. You just got to have a common starting point. I basically just followed the line with this square aluminum tubing and drew a line. From there you can just do measurements of how far you need it up from the end. So I knew it was like 2 inches or something like that. So I think I just laid it across here and then flipped it once. Boom, drew my line. So now I don't have a line over here. So then I knew that I had 3 pieces of aluminum here, which means I needed 3 inches. So if I had already cut 1 inch off, I just measured that next inch where I wanted this piece of board to stay, and then drew a line to the left. So now I have this side, and this side marked out. How am I going to get that side? Well, I did the same thing as the other. I went to the end of the hatch line where I cut, marked it across, and made a line on my frame. So then I just measured from that line over to where I wanted my hatch to go. Measured that distance on both sides, this front part and this back part. I think it was probably 2 inches. Marked over 2 inches, drew a line, and then just prayed for the best when I cut it. I did the exact same thing with that other side. It was just obviously different. These lines didn't match up. This line didn't match up. But I just used that same concept. Over here is going to be another little hatch door, obviously, so I can get into all the plumbing area. I did not double side this piece of aluminum here, and this is where the wood comes up and hits, so I don't have a whole lot of room to drill in there or anything. So I just went ahead and made the hatch door extend all the way to the end, just like it's going to on the rod locker and that other hatch over there. So now I'll be able to use this lip for my little latch that I'm going to use, and it's just going to be able to catch right up underneath there. I'm not going to show you guys me wood filling the holes, simply because you shouldn't have to do that yourself. I made a mistake, it's something I gotta fix, but you shouldn't have to worry about that as long as you don't put unnecessary holes in your boat. Just use screws. If you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them in the comment section down below. And don't forget to subscribe for future content. Thanks for watching.